For about 30 years, there was one sound that literally defined the future. That iconic Intel bong. It wasn't just a sound, it was a promise, right? A guarantee that you were getting power, you were getting innovation. For decades, Intel wasn't just some company, it was the engine of the entire digital world. I mean, think about it. If you owned a computer in the 90s or even the 2000s, there was just no question about it. Intel Inside. This logo right here, it stood for absolute total dominance. They weren't just making chips, they pretty much owned the very idea of what a modern computer was. Things have changed. That throne has been shaken big time. The undisputed king is now, well, it's fighting for its life. You've got competitors soaring to these trillion-dollar valuations, and meanwhile, Intel is facing a crisis unlike anything in its entire history. Let's get right to the brutal numbers, okay? In 2024, the company lost a staggering 61% of its stock value. This wasn't just a bad quarter or a bad year. No, this was the single worst year for Intel since it went public over 50 years ago. Just think about that for a second. And if you thought that was bad, it gets worse. For the full year, the company posted an annual loss of $18.8 billion. To give you some perspective, this was its first annual loss since way back in 1986. An entire generation of profitability was just gone. Wiped out. And behind those billions, there's a massive human cost. In a desperate move to cut costs, the company announced it was laying off 15% of its entire global workforce. So it all brings us to this one huge question. How did this happen, right? How did the undisputed giant of Silicon Valley, the company that basically invented the modern world, lose its way so completely? Well, the answer isn't just one single mistake. It's a whole series of them. A series of fatal, almost arrogant decisions. Okay, so to really understand the fall, you first have to appreciate the incredible height of their power. So let's rewind. Let's go back to the golden era, when Intel was the one and only Silicon King. Back in its heyday, Intel was run by the legendary CEO Andy Grove, and he ran the whole company by this one powerful motto: only the paranoid survive. It was this whole philosophy of relentless innovation, of never ever resting, and of always looking over your shoulder. And that paranoia, it fueled an absolute machine. They called it the tick-tock model. And every single year, just like clockwork, Intel's chips got faster and they got smaller. They left rivals like AMD so far in the dust, it wasn't even a real competition. They didn't just have market share, they practically had a monopoly on the future itself. But then, right at the absolute peak of its power, Intel made a decision. A single no that would go down as arguably the biggest business mistake of the modern era. So check this out. It's 2005. Steve Jobs himself goes to Intel's CEO with his top secret project, the iPhone. But Intel, they looked at the numbers and they decided the sales volume just wouldn't be big enough to be worth their time. So they said no. They passed. That one decision meant Intel completely missed the boat on the entire mobile revolution. They were left powering laptops in a world that was very quickly moving into all of our pocket. So while Intel was still kind of reeling from that massive mobile blunder, a brand new crisis was brewing. And this time, it was hitting the very heart of the company, its engineering and its manufacturing. The one thing they were supposed to be the best at. The company that built its entire empire on being the best manufacturer in the world. Well, it just stopped being the best. Intel got stuck. I mean, for nearly a decade, they couldn't get past their 14-nanometer process. And that led to chips that were just falling behind. And meanwhile, a company over in Taiwan, TSMC, they completely mastered the technology, and they became the go-to manufacturer for pretty much everyone else, including, you guessed it, Apple. And then, in 2020, the final blow. The divorce became public, and it was brutal. After relying on Intel for years, Apple announced it was done. They were going to make their own world-class M1 chips from now on. For Intel, this wasn't just losing a client. This was a massive public humiliation. Which brings us to today. With its dominance totally shattered and its finances in a complete mess, Intel is now making a huge, high-stakes gamble to try and claw its way back to the top. I mean, this is the reality right here in black and white, straight from their own earnings report. Revenue is down a bit, sure, but look at the gross margin and the net income. They've fallen off a cliff. They went from a $1.7 billion profit to an $18.8 billion loss in just 1 year. And this chart, wow, this really tells you the new story in Silicon Valley. While Intel stock was collapsing, a rival chipmaker, Broadcom, soared over 100%. And what was the driving force behind this huge split? One thing: AI, artificial intelligence. Broadcom totally rode the AI wave, while Intel was mostly left watching from the shore. So what's the big plan to turn this whole ship around? It's called IDM 2.0, and Intel's basically betting everything on becoming a world-class manufacturer again. They're pouring billions into building these massive new factories in the US, hoping to compete head-on with TSMC and, get this, make chips for everyone, even their own rivals. It's a bold plan, it's a super expensive plan, and it relies heavily on government support to even work. So it really all comes down to this: can the king who forgot to be paranoid learn to be paranoid again? With billions in losses and competitors moving at lightning speed, is Intel actually too big to fail, or has it just become too slow to win? What do you think? Is the era of Intel Inside officially over? All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down an absolutely tectonic shift in the semiconductor industry, a shocking alliance between bitter rivals that is, no joke, completely rewriting the rules of the chip wars. And this quote, it just perfectly captures the drama of this whole story. I mean, it's a tale of a fallen giant, right? The undisputed king of silicon for decades. And then this stunning, completely unexpected move that could rebuild its entire empire. So in late 2025, something happened that left the tech world, well, stunned. A move that almost no one saw coming completely redrew the landscape. A partnership was announced that, just a few years ago would have been considered totally impossible. And here it is. This is the core of the shock. Nvidia, the company that rocketed past Intel to become the world's most valuable chipmaker, just poured $5 billion into its biggest and, let's be honest, now struggling competitor. Now you have to understand, this isn't just an investment, it's a massive statement about the brutal new realities of the AI era. Okay, so to really grasp why this deal is so monumental, we've got to rewind the clock. This isn't just some business deal. Nope. It's really the climax of a decades-long power struggle. And it all leads to this: a historic role reversal. Just look at this timeline. It's wild. Back in 2005, Intel was on top of the world, so dominant that it actually considered buying Nvidia and basically decided against it. Now, fast forward to 2024, and bam! Intel posts its first annual loss since 1986, a staggering $18.8 billion. Then, just a year later, the very company it once dismissed steps in, not as a target to be acquired, but as a financial lifeline. The reversal is, well, it's absolute. So how in the world did they structure this unprecedented deal? Well, beyond the headline number, this partnership is a deeply integrated collaboration. It has a really clear two-pronged strategy that's designed to tackle two of the most lucrative markets in all of tech. First up, the hard numbers. The deal was finalized on December 26, 2025. It saw Nvidia purchase just under 215 million shares of Intel stock. That is a massive vote of confidence coming from the world's most valuable company. So you might be wondering, how does this even work on a technical level? Well, the key that unlocks this whole alliance is NVIDIA's own NVLink technology. The best way to think of it is as a super fast, private highway that connects the two companies' architectures. So this isn't just about sharing money, it's about making their core technologies talk to each other, work together seamlessly, something that was just unthinkable a few years ago. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it lays out the whole strategy. It's pretty much an attack on two fronts. First, in the data center, Intel is now going to design and manufacture custom x86 CPUs that NVIDIA will then plug right into its massive AI platforms. And then for personal computing, your home PC, we're going to start seeing Intel's system on chips with NVIDIA's legendary RTX graphics built right in as smaller chiplets. They are literally fusing their greatest strength. So what does all this mean for the bigger picture? I mean, this collaboration isn't happening in a vacuum. You've got competitors like AMD gaining ground, and the cost of building new chip fabs is just astronomical. Even the giants can't go it alone anymore. This is a calculated, pragmatic move that completely, and I mean completely, reshuffles the deck in the global chip war. And listen to how Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, talks about this. He doesn't frame it as a bailout. He calls it a fusion of two world-class platforms. That language is very deliberate. It signals a partnership of equals, one that's aimed at creating something new and powerful for the next era of computing. And this really just illustrates the multiple layers at play here. For Intel, yeah, it's a much-needed lifeline after a series of missteps. For the US, it's a big move to strengthen domestic chip manufacturing, especially with all the geopolitical stuff going on. But strategically, the real genius is combining Nvidia's unmatched AI dominance with Intel's massive x86 ecosystem. That's the architecture that's powered most PCs for decades. What you get is a powerful new American force built specifically for the age of AI. So, this alliance really marks the end of an era of fierce competition and the beginning of a new, pretty uncertain chapter. But it all really hinges on one massive question. So, let's be clear, this isn't the end for Intel. The company's fall was a lesson in arrogance, for sure. But this alliance, this is a masterclass in pragmatism and survival. The iconic Intel Inside story is far from over. It's just being co-authored by its greatest rival.
And that leads us to the $5 billion question that everyone in Silicon Valley is asking. Is this partnership a stroke of genius that will save an icon and create an unbeatable tech titan? Or is it just delaying the inevitable? The answer is going to define the future of technology for all of us.
If you found this deep dive helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button, share this video with a fellow tech enthusiast, and of course, subscribe for more business case studies. Thanks for watching.